Levi, Pospichal, and Robert Toups here. Robert on a 5-card hand here starts off on Basic Mountain. We are underway with our match.
Yeah, winning the die roll, that's a significant flip here, but mulliganing, never ideal.
Sun-Scorched Desert from Robert drops Levi to 19. Earthshaker Kenra will send him to 17. How many creatures with blocking capability? That's one thing we're going to have to look at from Levi's side. Another Botanical Sanctum, Long Tusk, Cub, and Pass. At this point, Robert doesn't know if he's playing against Black Green. He probably expects he's against Teamer Energy this round, based on the start.
I mean, yeah, both decks kind of just do this to this point.
Yeah. Shock and Swing, 2 more damage in. No land.
I don't think there's a meaningful delineation in play patterns for red versus either of the energy decks.
Yeah, it's not going to really change how he plays. We see here an Ether Hub from Levi. Here's Rogue Refiner. One thing that it might be different is that if you play against Teamer Energy, you don't expect Blossoming Defense against...
Sure.
Whereas Levi does have one in his hand. So that could catch Robert off guard if he thinks he's on it's a different deck.
Mm-hmm.
So land for Toups. He's only gotten in 5 damage. Levi, of course, would be happy to trade that Rogue Refiner away for any creature.
Yeah, being able to trade that card in combat generally feels pretty nice. Replaces itself in terms of cards and also leaves some energy behind.
On-Crop Crasher, Exert, and Swing sends 5 more damage in. Levi is down to 10.
Toups doing a good job of getting some chip shots in here.
Absolutely.
The deck does have a good amount of reach. You see there is a shock in the hand.
Land 4 from Levi. He's got a pair of Walking Ballistas and a Rishkar in hand right now, and a Long Tusk Cub. See how he wants to play these. Next turn should be a relatively safe turn for Levi. What I think he needs to set up is that 2 turns later, he'll need a good defense.
Mm-hmm. Defense, and also he has to start looking at closing the game. Once you're at 10 life, you're getting to the threshold where just some chip shots can do you in. You know, Lightning Strike and Shock, pretty good at closing games.
So he'll cast Rishkar, putting counters on his creatures, and then Long Tusk Cub off the mana and pass. What I like about what Levi's doing is by playing Rishkar this turn, he's allowing himself to have a lot of mana next turn for a Walking Ballista.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Rishkar and the Rogue Refiner already have a +1/+1 counter. The Long Tusk Cub, there's 3 energy floating there.
Yeah, with the land drop, he could, in theory, make a 4/4 Ballista. That's enough to shoot down Robert's whole team.
Mm-hmm. Toups had land Hazaret here. I don't know exactly how many cards he has in hand. It can't be that many, though. I think he had 2 going into this turn. I want to say they were both red spells and one was Shock, though.
Yeah, he's running out of time where he can deal damage. Robert going to read Rishkar. Rishkar was just cast this turn, so Levi is tapped out. Next turn, he'll have a lot of mana available. Here is a Braid targeting Rishkar. Rishkar is down. Swing with Kenra. Well, Levi's got a very tempting block right now.
He's incentivized to block with Cub, use the energy to make Cub a 3/3.
Yeah, so when you're on Levi's side, you have to think that attack means one of 2 things. The first is Robert has Shock. The second is that Robert just missed this interaction. Levi decides that the first one's more likely and doesn't block.
Going down to 8, though, is pretty precarious.
Well, especially because that play means he believes Robert has Shock.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you have a burn spell. Well, I'll lose some life and leave the burn spell in your hand.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. Here's Walking Ballista for 2 from Levi. He leaves up 1 mana. That he does have a Blossoming Defense in hand.
Okay, that means he has access to better blocks on this turn anyway.
Long Tusk Cub will swing. Very aggressive.
He could be trying to get that shock out in a defensive way. If you proactively pump the Cub, then Blossoming Defense. There's a good chance you want to hold on to that to stop the on-cross crapper.
Well, Robert can't really shock here, right? If he does, Levi just puts a counter on the Cub.
Yep.
There's this bind where
Yeah,
if
so-
nobody does anything, Robert just takes 2.
Say if Levi goes to put the counter on first,
Sure.
but yeah, likely the defense is going to block for the on-crop crasher.
Yeah, the shock will go at Walking Ballista. That makes sense. See if Levi wants to spend Blossoming Defense to save his robot, or he just wants to shoot down something.
More inviting to go for the crasher.
He's going to have to do it anyway, right? Like, say he Blossoming Defenses here. Next turn, he probably has to spend those counters to kill Crasher anyway.
Yeah,
if that's the case, just...
Yep, he would no longer have access to Blossoming Defense to stop the crasher trigger.
So Levi makes the play, shoots on Crub Crasher. With Robert tapped out, Levi will make the Cub a 3/3 before damage. It connects for 3 and gives him back the 2 energy it had spent. Levi at 8, Robert at 17. No good attacks for Robert yet, but here's another on-crop Crasher. A swing and an exert. No blocks for Rogue Refiner, but now the Blossoming Defense comes in for Levi. His creature can block indeed, but Robert's guys are already attacking. So on-crop Crasher is swinging to its doom. Levi goes to 6.
6 is still a pretty low life total. Toups is still at 17.
Yeah. Robert playing a land, though, he is drawing off the top here. He has 1 desert in play. He has no Ramanap Ruins yet.
Levi has a hand that's pretty well insulated against creatures, though. You see Ballista coming down. He does have a Fatal Push in reserve as well.
Yeah, Walking Ballista for 2.
A lot of pressure on Toups just to find running lightning strikes off the top.
And look at this damage. Here's Long Tusk Cub for 4. Rogue Refiner not joining the attack. Check that. Rogue Refiner will, after some thought, join in on the attack. So it's a swing for 8. Robert will go to 9. Levi will get back 2 energy. He'll say go. He's threatening lethal next turn.
Yeah, and with that Fatal Push in hand, it just makes sense to shove. Even if Toups produces another Crasher, you can just use the Ballista, shoot down the Kenra, shoot Toups, and then you have Revolt enabled, so the push could deal with the Crasher in that situation anyway.
Sure. And look at back to Robert's side. He's gotten Levi to 6, but those last few points of damage are going to elude him here. Looks at the card. He drew a mountain. That's not going to do it. Levi Pospichal takes the first game here with Sultai Energy.
It can be really difficult for the red deck
Yeah.
to produce enough damage, certainly on the play on a mulligan. You got the original initiative, but 2 cards down. If that was 2 lightning strikes, obviously that closes the game.
It's a tough game 1 for Ramanap Red to have lost, so we will look to Toups' sideboard. 3 Glorybringer, 2 Pianalar, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Chandra's Defeat, 2 Chandra, 2 Aethersphere Harvester, a Vance's Blasting Cannons, and a Sweltering Suns in the sideboard.
So we have seen Pianalar come in as similar matchups, just the flying body that matters a lot. If your opponent's trying to kill spell you, it is worth 2 bodies. Glorybringer is a reasonable one here. Again, a flying body. You can deal with a lot of this Winding Constrictor stuff. The other cards here not terribly inviting. Chandra Torch of Defiance would be the only other find. Pretty easy to leverage that one on the play.
I really like Sweltering Suns in the matchup, just as a one of. Levi will not see it coming.
You do have a short window where it could be very powerful. I think it's easier to leverage on the draw than it is on the play. Toups is still going to want to curve out with his early creatures.
Right. Yeah, it's in this strange spot where you're playing 1-drop, 2-drop into a sweeper.
Right.
It's the windows are very narrow for it. On Levi's side, his sideboard's a bit different than what we've seen. He's got the Duress and Negates and Vraska's Contempts. Those have been pretty stock in these lists. But the other cards, Nissa Vital Force, Cartouche of Ambition, Essence Extraction, Lost Legacy, and Sky Sovereign. Well, I like the black cards quite a bit here.
Yeah, the Cartouche, the Essence Extractions, those are all excellent here. Anything that gains life in particular. We haven't seen a player with Essence Extraction in their sideboard to this point. It's the kill spell that gains you 3 is really nice.
Yeah, it's that 3-mana Lightning Helix in black. Can't go upstairs, but I don't think he would care.
No, it'd be very rare that that would be the target in this matchup.
But the players at 10 and 3, they were in 10th and 10th place going into this round. The winners hoping a win will be good enough for top 8. Now, we're here at the Dallas Open. It's our first Open with Ixalan. Now, we're going to have a lot of chances to play Ixalan cards in the coming months. We look at our SCG Tour schedule. Right now, we are at September 30th, October 1st, we're in Dallas. Now, in 2 weeks, we'll have our first chance of Ixalan Modern. That's going to be our Modern Open in Charlotte. And that starts a 3-week run here of events. The following week, we move to Cincinnati again to play Ixalan with Modern. And then we have Washington, D.C. We will take Ixalan all the way into Legacy. That's October 28th and 29th. So a lot of chances to try out these new cards in various decks. The following week, we have our regionals. Those are happening around the country. And we end the season with our team event in Baltimore. It's November 18th and 19th. Remember, that is, you need a team of 3 players for that one. You need a standard player, a modern player, and a legacy player. So you'll get a chance in each format to play. And that's going to be coming up in a month and a half. Then we end with our Season 2 Invitationals, December 1st through 3rd, standard and modern in Roanoke, Virginia. Now, for showing up at these events, you will get a free playmat with entry. Now, for a standard event, it's going to be Bantu the Glorified. These are all invocation arts for any open or classic and standard. For modern opens and classics, we are giving away the art for Spell Pierce. We have this playmat. And for the legacy events, and that one is coming up 1 month in Washington, D.C., it's going to be Days, the invocation for legacy. So you can pick these up each weekend. Also, the Infinite Challenge package will let you get one as well. Game number 2 underway. Robert has a 7-card hand this time. He'll start with Carry Zev on turn 2. And no fatal push for it. Looks like it'll get in for some damage.
Yeah, missing the 1-drop here, but this is the ideal 2.
Now Levi Long Tusk Cub. Not a great blocker here, actually, with no energy. You can't block Carry Zev, you can't block Ragavan.
Well, Carry Zev has Menace.
Right. I guess you could block Ragavan. I wouldn't want to.
Right.
A lot of the 2-drops out of Sultai can make this block. I think Long Tusk Cub is, with no energy, is one of those duds here.
No attune on turn 1, so
right.
Just a lame Long Tusk Cub.
A Braid, nonetheless, will take care of Long Tusk Cub.
Just a dead Long Tusk Cub.
There's that one, the bonus mountain sneaking in again for Robert Toups. We saw that earlier, all of them matching -1.
And getting the Abrade in there before Pospichal has Blossoming Defense online, that does make some sense.
Sure, you wouldn't want the Long Tusk Cub to actually get a hit in, then it can get out of control. He's really respecting Blossoming Defense by making that play.
Right.
Swing for 3, Levi to 17. For Levi, mana requirements online. Botanical Sanctum gives him blue mana, and he casts his blue card. It's going to be a copy of Rogue Refiner. And it looks like he picks up Vraska's Contempt off that draw step, so that has come in off the sideboard.
Yeah, well, it's a way to exile Hazoret, gaining 2 life. Always nice in this matchup.
Yeah, I suppose I would say normally I wouldn't want 4 mana removal against a red deck, but because I think that life gain attached to it pushes it over the edge where I agree I want it against this deck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it was just an Utter End, something like just 4 mana unconditional exile card, that feels really bad to board it in against Hazoret, because when you're not killing Hazoret, it's just, I don't know, not interested.
Yep.
Earthshaker Kenra attacks. Now, it can't target Rogue Refiner, so Rogue Refiner may block. Now, it doesn't have any particularly good blocks.
It's not an exciting block, but conserving your life total just makes sense in this matchup.
Yeah, can't block Carry Zev. Won't block Ragavan. Might block Earthshaker Kenra.
Yeah, you might not block Kenra in the chance that that's what you've decided you want to exile with your Vraska's Contempt. But protecting your life total just makes sense, and exiling Carry Zev is meaningful here.
Soulscar Mage was the follow-up for Toups. And for Levi, we know he has a 4 mana kill spell. We'll see if he can do better than that. See Long Tusk Cub picked up here. Looks like it'll be Winding Constrictor into Long Tusk Cub. Now he has 2 energy in store, so that Cub could become a 4/4.
Good sequencing to get the Constrictor out there first.
Pair of plays, he passes to Toups. Just a single red up, so no great place to shock just yet.
Now, Soulscar Mage versus Winding Constrictor is actually a pretty nice matchup for Toups.
Right, so Winding Constrictor says whenever you or a creature you control gets a counter, it gets an additional counter of that type. It doesn't just say the source has to be your own. So if Soulscar Mage causes a burn spell to put a -1/-1 counter on your creature, it gets an additional -1 counter.
Of course, Toups is thinking bigger.
He's thinking dragons. Here's Glorybringer, exerts and swings. He targeted Winding Constrictor with it, so it kills the Constrictor, but now the 4/4 Cub, I guess, blocks and kills Ragavan. That's not too bad. Levi still takes 5.
Yep. Toups still at 20. You know, this Constrictor isn't going to come across the finish line in any kind of surprising fashion.
Yeah, this does mean that Levi gets to attack back with the Long Tusk Cub if he'd like.
And the Glorybringer is exerted, so Levi has a little bit of time to find an answer to that one.
I am a bit surprised looking at Levi's hand. He has a copy of the card Die Young in his hand. I know you mentioned that he had 2 of them in his deck. That is a bold card to keep in against Raminap Red. It might be the sides he just needs the extra cards enough to play it, but you pay 2 life to draw 2, and then you get 2 energy.
Die Young's a
no,
kill
Die Young's a
spell.
kill spell, doesn't live fast. Okay, Die Young's fine.
You see Die.
That's why it makes more sense.
You see Die is in the name, and so it kills
makes
something.
sense. All right, all right. Die Young's great then.
It is sorcery speed.
Yeah, it's the other one. This is the one he actually wants. My
It's
apologies.
It's not the greatest on this board. You know, it's only going to be able to kill Soulscar Mage.
Well, Long Tusk Cub could feed it some more energy. It's going to swing in.
That's true. And Toups at 20. Be surprised to see a chump block here.
Right, so if this connects, Die Young can be used to kill Zev. He'll have to spend one of the energy that Long Tusk Cub makes, but that seems good. And actually, Robert's just going to block with Soulscar Mage.
Fair enough.
I don't know if he knew about Die Young, but that's actually a very good block based on what Levi's hand is. So Levi will just say go. Leave up Vraska's Contempt. And you go back over to Robert. Zev. That card's been so powerful here. It is still on the board.
Yeah, and because Pospichal has no energy, couldn't have used Die Young on that one.
4 mana for Toups. Here is Hazaret. 1 card in hand. Well, that's gonna... And Bomat Courier. Okay, this is gonna make an easy target for Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah.
I think Levi was hoping Robert's hand had a little less action in it than that.
I would prefer not. I would prefer you did not have the best possible.
Yeah. He will exile the god, gain 2 life. However, he takes 4 more back, so still... I'll go to 7. It's a net loss of 2. And Levi has so many things he has to answer now. Glorybringer, first of all, is just going to kill him. Bomat Courier is getting extra cards, and Zev is still around.
Yep. Also, Raminap Runes hanging out in the mana base.
There's a lot of things he has to do, you're right.
Certainly can't deal 20 damage this turn. So that's a non-starter.
He's got 1 copy of Die Young. He has a Swamp. He might even have 2 copies of Die Young. So if he has 2, he could kill Zev and Glorybringer, but he'd have to attack to do it. No, he actually can't. He'd still be 1 short.
Yeah.
He'll swing. Gets 2 energy.
If he had Essence Distraction plus Die Young, that'd be something.
So here's Die Young, makes 2 more energy. He'll spend all 4 of it to get rid of Glorybringer. Fair enough. That's gone. Yeah, we'll see if that actually card. It might. It's one of those sideboard or one of those black removal spells. Essence Extraction would be great. If it's another Die Young, do you think he holds on to it, or does he just have to spend it?
You got to kill that Bomat Courier. It'd be drawing 2 cards on the following turn.
So he says go. Still in a very precarious spot. Zev's going to swing for 3, and Raminap deals 2. So that's scary. And On-Crop Crasher means Levi's down to 1 against a Raminap Ruins on the table. He's going to need some big life gain.
And he couldn't deal 20 last turn. He can't deal 16 this turn.
Yeah, I don't think he can survive this one. Not enough life gain. Picked up another black card. I guess Essence Extraction could save him for a turn. If he Essence Extraction is the On-Crop Crasher, he would take 3.
And he gets hit by Ragavan and Raminap Runes on the following turn.
He gets hit by Zev and Raminap
You're right.
Runes.
Yep.
So you go to 1. I mean, it's not good.
Nope.
It would keep him alive.
And dead to plenty of stuff off the top as well.
Yeah. It is.
Lightning Strike. We've already seen the first copy of Glorybringer. Likely more than 1 in the deck. Another On-Crop Crasher would do it. Some kind of black spell at the ready.
We'll see. Oh, hold on. This might be the card that does work for him. It's Cartouche of Ambition. It's good. Puts a -1 counter on Crab Crasher. Importantly, it gives Long Tusk Cub lifelink. So here's a swing for 5 points with lifelink. Levi goes to 6. Now, gets 2 energy. He's still not a lot. He's not surviving yet, right?
He has 2 swamps in hand as well. You have to bank on Toups making some kind of mistake, but I can't imagine why he just wouldn't attack with creatures here.
Right. Levi to 6. Right, so the attack is for 5, and the Ramanap would win?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a card that Robert is even playing around that could be in the stack?
I mean, it would have to be like some kind of flash blocker to force an error here, right? Or like some kind of fog.
Yeah.
But you would just play into fog. There's no cost at playing into fog.
Are you playing Life Goes On in the sideboard?
Sure, but that's just like a survival tactic, right?
Well, it'd be a problem, right? Levi would attack again, and he'd gain more life.
Well, like, what are you gonna do? Hang back so you can block the life?
No, I mean, you're right. Like, if you think that's the card, you're gonna respect it. No, he's going to Eternalize Earthshaker Kenra with his 6 mana.
Sure. Committed a game action with his red deck against opponent at 6 life. Yeah. Probably good.
It's Eternal. Long Tusk Cub can still block, though. You can't target it.
You have to give some pause. You know, Pospichal's not conceding, but eventually the conclusion is to jam.
Game 3 coming up. Robert Toups evens it at 1 game apiece.
And Pospichal will finally be on the play in Game 3. It'll make it a little bit easier to leverage the cards in his deck.
All right, our players are going to get ready for a 3rd game here. Here in round number 14, we have this and 1 more round for the top 8. A win here is going to make the loser here will be out of top 8 contention. The winner might be able to draw in. Now, I mentioned that here in season 2 we had regionals coming up. That is November 4th, and it's going to be taking place at locations all around the country. I can tell you more about it.
Plant your flag at the StarCityGames.com Season 2 Regional Championships. On November 4th, play Modern at any one of the 10 regionals locations across the U.S. The first 200 players to register for each event will receive a Hammer and Scale playmat and Kraken token just for signing up. Regional championships are part of the SCG Tour with SCG points for all players. Top 8 competitors earn a trophy, a share of $5,000, and a spot on the Season 2 SCG Invitational. Visit go.starcitygames.com/regionals to learn more.
So November 4th, that's going to be regionals, modern regionals with Ixalan.
Maybe some Charta courses.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm going to play regionals or not, but if I do, probably playing Vengevines. I've been real into these Vengevine decks in Modern.
I don't know. I played at a local PPTQ. I was playing Burn, and some idiot on a Vengevine deck just destroyed me in 2 games. It was.
What's the worst that could have happened? Did they like collective brutality, killing your only creature, taking your only good card in your hand, and cast 2 hollow ones and attack you with 2 Vengevines?
Yeah. Wow. Were you there for that game?
I may have been playing that game.
Yeah. Well, that stunk. I lost.
It was close, though. You played well.
It's like turn 1 Goblin Guide, go, and you're like, yeah, kill your Goblin Guide, take your Boros Charm,
Cycle Street Wraith.
Gain 2 life, make 11 power of creatures, hit you, or 12 power creatures, hit you with 4 of it, go. It's like, wow, huh, okay.
Lava spike you.
What are you at? You're at 16. I have 1 card left. Okay, well, that was fun.
Modern's in a weird place right now.
That was the only. I didn't play Burn at the next one. I was done. That was. I think my comment was, my deck is entirely too fair today.
Yep.
Since then, we went back to only playing Primeval Titan, and then I won a lot more. Card's great.
The positioning of Burn's actually a pretty good litmus test for the state of Modern.
Yeah.
If you follow the turn 4 philosophy, Burn's a deck that, uninhibited, will kill you on turn 4. It'll have some turn 3s, but basically always will kill you on turn 4.
It's very good at it.
And if you register Burn and you just get destroyed in every match you play, That's not acceptable. It should at least have a 50% win rate in a true modern philosophy format.
The plan wasn't to play burn. If you're wondering, I was waiting on some cards that then didn't show up, and I was like, well, I got burn in my bag, and I drove out here, so I guess
here we are.
Here's the backup deck. Let's roll the dice, and then I went 0-2 because I'll play against a lot of collective brutalities. That card is you can't beat it with burn. It's so bad.
Nope, don't even try.
Bomat Courier for Robert swings to start the game. Long Tusk Cub is a blocker again on turn 2. This is the weakest of Levi's blockers. It's a spot where it could die to shock. It'll die to a Braid instead. Everything dies to a Braid on turn 2, though. Here's Bomat Courier getting another card. Did you win the event after crushing my hopes?
That was actually not a great event for me.
That's so rude. That's so rude.
You'll 3-0-0-3.
I always like it when I beat someone I know and then lose the next 3 rounds, and then I have to look at the guy and be like, ha! Well, I made the most of it. Long Tusk Cub, another one for Levi as he passes back. This time he has Blossoming Defense mana up.
Yep.
You know his deck does play 2 copies. One of the scary parts about Blossoming Defense from the Ramanap Red side is how it interacts with On-Crop Crasher.
Yeah, it just interacts really well against almost everything your deck is doing.
Well, especially with Crasher. Say Robert has On-Crop Crasher. Like, do you want to jam On-Crop Crasher into this mana? Because if he has Blossoming Defense, you're going to lose the game.
That's pretty big downside.
Right? You lose everything.
Yep.
Because you have to attack to get the trigger. It's just,
yep.
Ugh.
Cub sticks around, eats your creature in combat. You spend 3 mana on that.
Here's an interesting one. Sweltering Suns is in Toups' hand.
Neat.
Yeah, he's got Glorybringer, Sweltering Suns, Scavenger Grounds at least. So you can build up with the Glorybringer. He's got this sweeper. I want to see.
Pospichal has some interesting decisions on his side. He has a Winding Constrictor. If he commits that, that's bad news in the face of Sweltering Suns.
Here's a swing of Long Tusk Cub. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how Robert is going to try to get his opponent to play into it.
Yeah, we'll see how the combat plays out here. A block would be very telling.
Yeah, if he's blocking, whoa, blocking with your 2-card Bomat Courier, huh? Nope, we're gonna.
Yeah, Raging Goblin got its 2 points in. We're all done with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, possible. Went to 3 actually like, no, you didn't actually play the Winding Constrictor first, so only 2.
Got a little bit ahead of himself.
Understandable.
Now this makes it so that the Sweltering Suns line,
boo,
less good.
Robert has Hazoret in hand, and he just draws. That's a scary part when you play Ramanap Red is if on your 3rd turn you just didn't use any of your mana. That is,
yep.
Man, I hope to not do that.
Well, this game is a pretty strong example for why I'm not into Sweltering Suns in this matchup. It's not just that he didn't get the payoff that he wanted. It's that the cycling cost is so high. It's not like, oh, whatever, it cycles. It's like, it costs 3 to draw a card in my red deck.
He didn't cycle it, though.
He did not. You're right. Like, he's like hoping for something to go the other way, but then he just has this card in his hand that he won't be able to convert. Like, it's not meaningfully different.
Hazoret, Sweltering Suns, Glorybringer, Scavenger Grounds are the cards in his hand. So he's got this go big plan, right, where it's play my 4-drop Hazoret, take a boatload of damage from you, then play my Glorybringer. That's how his hand wants to be played. But there's some issues here. The first one is that I don't think that line wins against this board. The second one is that line of Hazoret into Glorybringer, Bomat Courier is not about that at all.
You also might start getting into the fact that Levi just has Vraska's Contempt in his hand.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem if your plan is 4-drops and 5-drops, then you're saying, hey, I want a mid-range fight. But I don't want to have a mid-range fight against Black-Green. They're better at it.
Yeah, the cards that his deck presenting, they're just kind of jumbled and mismatched as far as a game plan. And they just line up poor against what Pospichal's up to.
Sweltering Suns from Robert. Levi will make Long Tusk Cub a 4-4 in response. And Robert bins his own Bomat Courier.
If he could combine this with a shock, that'd be something.
If this was the plan, I almost would have rather cycled the Sweltering Suns.
Yeah. I'd be into that. Cycle Sweltering Suns and then just like cast Hazoret on this turn.
This just what, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that line wins either. This didn't feel good enough.
I'm really, if we're going to talk about rewinding, though, I'm pretty into leaving Sweltering Suns in my sideboard.
Sure. Cartouche of Ambition on Long Tusk Cub. I was going to say, I think Robert's plan was to set up with that and then next turn Glorybringer kill Long Tusk Cub. But that's just, first of all, that never would have worked because Cub can be, would make 2 energy on this attack. Now it's really not going to work because Cub has lifelink.
Yep.
It's a 5/5. It hits for 5. Levi to 23. Robert to 13. 2 more energy for the Cub. Levi has Blossoming Defense in his hand.
Yeah, and Pospichal has really been able to leverage the fact that he's on the play in this game.
So he immediately makes the Cub a 6/6. If he just has this large lifelinker and never takes down Blossoming Defense, I don't know what Robert does about it.
Gets beat up.
Yeah, it's...
He can try to set up a situation where he can start blocking with Hazoret, but he has a bunch of expensive cards in his hand.
But yeah, blocking with Hazoret, fine, but it doesn't kill it.
Yep.
And he's gonna gain. He'll still gain the life. It's...
Yeah, actually converting and dealing 20 damage from that, or 20 plus damage, 23 from this point even. That just kind of keeps him in the game. He's not necessarily able to even win it from there.
I'm looking at his sideboard, and I don't see a way to remove a 6/6 Cub.
Well, red decks just don't get things like that.
All right, Hazoret and Bomat Courier are Robert's plays. Okay, 1 card left in hand. It's the Glorybringer, so Hazoret can do her thing. She can block, but
can combine
that's fine.
something with Glorybringer down the road, but as more time passes, it's going to mean you need more somethings.
Toups was hoping to say, hey, I have 6 power worth of blockers. You can't attack into it. And Levi just attune. Look, 7th power.
Also, get ready to see that God Vraska's Contempted.
I don't know that he's even... I agree. It's going to happen. Right now on Levi's side, I'm not taking Blossoming Defense down for anything.
I'm just saying.
Oh, it'll happen. Maybe not. But I don't think he's going to... I don't want to tap out for the spell.
He just has Toups covered in multiple angles.
Yeah. Rogue Refiner here. Yeah, he'll Vraska's... Okay, he'll tap down. He'll Vraska's Attempt away the God. Go to 25. And now the coast is clear for him to swing in with Long Tusk Cub. And sure. It is a 6/6 lifelink. Levi has 2 energy. And you're right, he doesn't really need to hold up a Blossoming Defense because what would Robert play that would kill it?
I don't think he actually has that card in his hand.
Oh, okay.
So
he has Rogue Refiner.
Yeah. He's just so far ahead with this line as well.
Yeah, it almost feels like you don't need to protect the creature. It's too big, even if you could. This is... Sure, he's going to pump before combat. Let's get 7.
Yeah, a 7/7 can't die to 2 cards out of the red deck with the mana available. It would have to be Chandra Lightning Strike, and 5 mana does not get you there. Glorybringer Lightning Strike.
And there's no card like a Universal Solvent or something like a colorless card that red decks play that can deal with this. Specifically, the card Cartouche of Ambition has just been huge.
Nice little draft common making its way into standard. It does work in this matchup, though.
As a draft common, it frequently did the same thing. Attacking was so good in this limited format because of Exert. It was so hard to block that the best way to beat an attacking deck was, instead of trying to make good blockers, say like a 2/5 wall, the best thing was to kind of club your opponent with a lifelinker and say, well, I'm not going to block, but you're not going to kill me.
It's also nice that a lot of the Exert creatures have lower base bodies because they have Exert, so it just killed a lot of stuff, too.
Yeah, sometimes it even killed a creature, which was just, that was sick.
And it kills creatures in this matchup.
Right.
Bomat Courier, Earthshaker Kenra.
The best defense for Levi is a good offense. That lifelinker showing that.
Yep.
And Robert, here's the last card, Glorybringer. I mean, okay, so I think his plan is going to be something along the lines of block, chump with Bomat Courier, top deck another Glorybringer, exert both of them.
Sure.
Could work. Probably won't. Because the size right now on Cub is 7/7. With that energy, it's 8/8.
Rogue Refiner gives him 2 more energy as well, so line's
so
kind of already out.
So then it's going to be a 9/9. Yeah, then that's gone. Robert doesn't know that one, but now Winding Constrictor.
Further out.
Rogue Refiner, and those energy, puts it into the 9/9 range.
Gonna get a second go at a player with 40 or more life, maybe even a creature with 10 or more power.
Have you gotten the 10 or more power?
Yeah, nope. And I never
All right,
will.
well, there we go, because Robert's picking up the cards. So in 3, Levi Pospichal on Sultai Energy. He's going to end Robert Toups' run. It was a great run that started in this morning for Toups, winning the mono red mirror over Colin Roundtree. Lasts almost until the end, but he